Hello, grade 4. We're starting today's lesson with the vocabulary words for the week. Our first word is brittle. Brittle means something that is easily broken. Notice that in our sentence, the brittle dry leaf fell apart when I closed my hand around it. Brittle is usually related to something that is dry. Okay? Remember we talked about fragile and how things that are fragile are easily broken? Something that is brittle usually refers to something that is dry. All right, our next word is creative. Creative is when people show the ability to do something in a new way, when they do things that are different, when they do things that are imaginative. The florist made original and creative flower arrangements, okay? She did it in a new way, original. Original means the first of its kind. Descriptive. The word descriptive is when we describe or we tell about something. Like when we give details. This is making a descriptive description. Okay, the word description comes from describing something. Descriptive is the way in which we describe something, and we give lots of details when we make a description using descriptive words. Okay, so descriptive is to describe something or tell about something. Like, for instance, I could say, the young man had on a red shirt. This is a descriptive, this is a description of what the man looked like. Okay? The speaker gave a vivid, descriptive talk about the rainforest. That means that he used a lot of words to describe in his talk. Outstretched. If you notice, the wings are stretched out, spread completely out. The seagull glided through the air on outstretched wings. Outstretched means to extend to full length, to stretch all the way out. All right, that's our vocabulary words for this week. We have poetry terms as well. Our poetry terms this week are metaphor, rhyme, simile, and meter. All right, we've taken metaphor before, we've taken simile before, and we took rhyme since we were in kindergarten. Words that rhyme end in the same sound. Words like bright, night, words like pound and sound, words like book and shook. Okay, these are words that have the same ending sound. These words rhyme. Now, a metaphor and a simile, both of these both of these compare two things that are different. The difference between a metaphor is that when it compares two things that are not alike, it doesn't use the word like or as. In a simile, when it compares two things that are not alike, it uses the word like or the word as. Example, a metaphor could be, I used the metaphor today about Jenna because Jenna's tall. I used the metaphor in class. Jenna is a tall tree. And this is a metaphor because I compared Jenna to the tree without using the word like or as. If I wanted to compare Jenna to the tree and it be a simile, I could say Jenna is tall like a tree, or I could say Jenna is as tall as a tree. Okay, so when my comparison has the word like or as, it's a simile. When it does not have like or as, it's a metaphor. All right, here we also have meter. Meter is the pattern of stressed and unstressed syllables. Stressed syllables are when we put extra emphasis. Like one of the students in class today said, like if it had an exclamation on it, which is correct. We put extra emphasis on that syllable, so we give it a little extra when we say it. Like, for instance, I use the name Omar in class to show what stressed and unstressed syllables are. If I want to put stress on the first syllable, of his name, I say, Omar, Omar. Or if I want to put stress on the second syllable, then I say, Omar, Omar. It's where I put the extra emphasis on the sound that makes it a stressed syllable. Okay? All right, let's continue and we'll look at the literary terms where there's more explanation. All right, I'm going to skip through the poetry. We'll go back to that. We are studying two types of poetry this week. We are studying lyric poetry and haiku. Okay, there are two completely different types of poetry. Okay, so lyric poetry is a poem that tells the thoughts and the feelings of the poet. Okay, he shares how he feels about something in his poem. It's not always direct, but he tells you what he thinks about something in a direct or an indirect way. All right, we will discuss it as we read. It often ends in rhymes. It doesn't have to, but it often does have a rhyming pattern. And it usually has a consistent meter. Now, remember, we said meter is the pattern of stressed and unstressed syllables. So, like the song, and we use this today in class as our example, Twinkle, Twinkle, Little Star. When you sing the song, you say, Twinkle, twinkle, little star. There's a pattern. Okay, that is what we call meter. The way that you stress the syllables, the way that you say the lines. And it continues through the song. How I wonder what you are. Same pattern. Okay, same meter, same amount of stressed syllables, same sound. Okay. A haiku is a short poem. It's only 3 lines long. And it says here that it's used to describe a scene or a moment. Now, I have seen haikus that describe anything, um, pets, uh, children, um, feelings. So I'm not sure why this says scene or moment, unless that's what it's focusing on in our lesson, although I didn't notice that in our haikus. Um, it has a 3 line poem. The first line has 5 syllables. The second line has 7 syllables. And the third line has 5 syllables. Remember when we counted syllables and we clapped in class like Amanda, or we said welcome, or we said have a nice day. We clapped for each syllable. This is how we count the haiku. The first line has 5, the second 7, and the third 5. And we'll point those out as we go through the poems as well. All right, next we're talking about point of view. Just like when we talk about a story and we say the point of view is what the author thinks or the author feels, in a poem, the person that is speaking in the poem, the point of view is how that person thinks or feels. Okay? All right. And we did meter, we did rhyme already. Okay. I think it's time. Oh, figurative language. We did simile and metaphor as well. We talked about a simile that uses the word like or as a comparison. The example they give is straight as an arrow, or a metaphor that does not use the word like or as, like green. The grass was a green carpet. Okay? All right, let's go back now. Yes, that's our last one. Let's go back and read the poetry in the reading writing workshop on page 150. All right, so the first poem that we're going to look at is called Dog. And we can look at this poem and tell that this is a haiku because it's a 3 line poem. Let's check to make sure. Let's count the first line for how many syllables. A brown boomerang. A brown boomerang. 5 syllables. The second line, my dog flies off, arcs his way. 7 syllables. Back into my arms. 5 syllables. So this poem is 5, 7, and 5, 3 line poem. It is a haiku. Okay? All right, it says a brown boomerang. My dog flies off, arcs his way back into my arms. All right, so the poem is about the dog. A boomerang is like a toy that you throw, and when you throw it, it comes back to you. So it compares the dog to the boomerang. Okay? All right, and it talks about how the dog comes back and jumps into the arms of the owner. All right, so who is this poem? Who is speaking in the poem? Okay, it's the person who owns the dog. My dog flies off. He says my, so we know he's talking about himself. So the poem is written from the point of the owner of the dog, and this is the person who wrote the poem because he uses the word my. So the point of view is written from the owner of the dog. Okay? The eagle. This is a picture of the eagle with outstretched arms, and he's holding a crag in his claw. This is a fish. It's called a crag. All right, the eagle. He clasped the crag with crooked hands, close to the sun in lonely lands. Ringed with the azure world he stands. The wrinkled sea beneath him crawls. He watches from his mountain walls, and like a thunderbolt he falls. Okay, so it talks about the eagle. And notice that the end of the lines in the first stanza, there are two stanzas. The ends of the first line, the end of the lines in the first stanza, hands, lands, and stands all rhyme. Crawls, walls, and falls also rhyme. Okay, so it has a rhyming pattern. He describes the eagle. Um, when he describes the eagle, he speaks about him in such a way that we can tell he respects this animal and he thinks this animal is pretty amazing. He talks about how he flies close to the sun where it's lonely. Not many people, not many birds or animals can go this close to the sun up in this area. And so he speaks about how that's pretty amazing from the way he says it. Close to the sun, in lonely lands, ring with the azure world he stands. He makes him sound like he is very majestic, like he is something to be respected, and that he does something pretty amazing. Azure means blue, so he's referring to the sky. The wrinkled sea beneath him crawls. He watches from his mountain walls, and like a thunderbolt he falls. He's talking about how he flies above the water, he watches from on top of the mountain, and when he sees something that he wants to catch, like this crag, he shoots straight down like a thunderbolt. So the way he describes him shows that he likes this bird and that he thinks he is pretty amazing. So he is telling us how he feels about the eagle. Okay, this is a lyric poem. All right, our next poem is Chimpanzee. Chimpanzee, we can also look at and tell that it's a lyric poem because we're only studying two types, lyric poetry and haiku. And this is not a 3-line poem, nor does it have stanzas that have 3 lines in them. So we can look at it and tell right from the beginning that it is a lyric poem. From branch to branch on outstretched arms, from tree to ground I leap. When I want to eat a snack, I stick a stick in termite heaps. I use my teeth to rip off leaves and make the branch all bare, then find the hole the bugs come out and patiently wait there. My skinny branch becomes a bridge as brittle bugs climb up the stick. I pick them off one by one and crunch them like potato chips. All right, so he talks about how he swings through the jungle from branch to branch with his arms stretched out, how he jumps around from the tree to the ground, and when he's hungry and wants a snack, he goes to where the termites are. That's the bugs. He uses his teeth to rip off the leaves from the stick, from the branch here, and then he goes to where the bugs are and he sticks the branch inside and he waits until the bugs, the termites, start walking across the branch. When they walk across the branch, it becomes like a bridge. And the brittle bugs climb up the stick. They're brittle because they're easily broken. When he bites them, they break easily. He picks them one by one, and he eats them the same way you eat potato chips. Okay, so he describes how he eats his tasty snack, the termites. Okay, all right, notice here that we have my skinny branch becomes a bridge. It compares a branch to a bridge. This is a metaphor. Okay, it does not use the word like, it does not use the word as. This is a metaphor. Now, what point of view is this poem written from? This poem is written from the point of view of the chimpanzee. The chimpanzee is talking. Okay, so he's telling a story about himself. The chimpanzee is talking, we know that, because he uses the words I and my. Okay, all right. Next poem, Rat. We notice right away this is a 3-line poem. So we'll check to make sure that it follows the pattern of a haiku. First line, teeth like jackhammers, 5 syllables. I chew through concrete for fun, 7 syllables. Bring the outdoors in, 5 syllables. So it is a haiku. It follows the pattern of 5-7-5 for syllables. And let's read about the rat. Teeth like jackhammers. I chew through concrete for fun. Bring the outdoors in. Okay, so the rat has very strong teeth. He bites through the concrete and he brings whatever is outside inside. Okay, all right. Notice this also is written from the point of view of the rat. Here it has the word I. All right, for those of you who don't know what a jackhammer is, you know when you see the people breaking up the road and they want to work on the road and they have the machine that they hold in their hands and it goes and it breaks the concrete. This is a jackhammer. All right, that is our poems for today. That's our literary terms and our vocabulary words. If you have any questions, you can feel free to contact me. Okay, see you in tomorrow's video. Bye-bye.